Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone and welcome to our Workbooks Hangout. My name is Tim Wilmot of Wizard Systems and I've also got my colleague Peter Johnson with me today. So we plan on running regular Hangouts in the future. We did miss out, we did go through a few months of not running them. I do apologize. We're now going to try and regularly focus back on those and concentrate on we're going to choose different topics around workbooks and CRM. Trying to give you different hints and tips on how to get the most out of your workbook CRM investment. And today we're going to look more closely at GatorMail, the new powerful email marketing solution designed to tightly integrate with workbooks. Now, this is just meant to be an overview of the GatorMail system. My company, Wizard Systems, offers many training options around Gator and marketing generally and workbooks. So if you want to explore those with us, we'd love to speak with you. Now, the audio part of this call is one way only. If you've got any questions, please type those into the question box on your meeting control panel, and we'll do our best to answer those at the end. The call is being recorded, by the way, so a day or so after the presentation, you will get an automatic email from our system with a link to the recording that you can play back at your leisure, share with your colleagues, and we'll most likely pop it up on our YouTube channel as well. So just before we get into talking about GatorMail, I'd just like to make a brief mention about us. I know some people on the call may not have dealt with us before, but Wizard Systems, all we do is CRM. We've been doing this now for well over 25 years. We've implemented over 3,000 CRM systems all over the UK and for the field. We provide any kind of service around workbooks, all the add-ons, any kind of training you want, integration with our applications. So please call us if you've got any questions about workbooks, training, support, add-on options, please let us know. So let's get started. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague, Peter Johnson. I'll come in at the end when we have our question and answer session. So think of those questions as we go through for Pete and myself. But I'd like to hand over to Peter. I'm just going to swap my screen over.
Hi Tim, can you hear me okay?
Yep, hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, good, okay. Okay, so yeah, good afternoon to everybody. I'm just going to go straight into this. I've got 4 or 5 slides here, just to give you a bit of a kind of an introduction, and then I'll kind of go into workbooks and show you a campaign that's already been done and the areas that we need to see. But I think it's important to just get an overview of the integration, which bits do what you do really in workbooks, what you do in GatorMail, go into a little bit of detail of both of those, and then we can have a look at some of the report options and things that you can do from the information that you get back from those. And as Tim mentioned, the GatorMail tightly integrates with workbooks. I mean, there are a few other options in terms of email service providers, the likes of MailChimp and that type of thing, but there are some advantages to using GatorMail, which we can see throughout this, and also maybe a bit of a summary at the end. Maybe Tim would like to come in on that as well. So let's have a look really at a bit of an overview of how it fits together. So I've tried to present that on this slide to show you kind of really which bits you do within workbooks and also which bits you do within GatorMail. So on the left here is the information that we're going to take care of in workbooks, and really I would say workbooks is does the heavy lifting part of this. You look after the data, you prepare the data, segment it, and then generate some campaigns so you can track that information. So we're going to use reports to create something called mailing lists, then use those mailing lists, one or many, into a campaign which provides a list of members, if you like, a target audience, and then from there you produce mail shots, and you can have many mail shots to one campaign. The example I use is a newsletter in a moment, and we'll see that. And then once you've done that, you can synchronize these mail shots into GatorMail. And then I guess if you like that sort of thing, this is the fun part where you build the creative content of the email and do the send. So all of that little bit, if you like, the fun bit, if you get done in GatorMail, send out the email and off you go. And then of course that email gets received. It may get bounced, opened, click-throughs, and all of that type of interaction gets tracked within GatorMail. But also all of that tracking and interaction comes back to the workbooks area. And it tracks that in many places. It tracks it in the mail shot, the campaign. It creates it against each contact within the system. So you can report on that really effectively. So let me just delve into a bit more detail about the workbook side of that first. So my next slide really kind of shows you the typical way that you would put together a campaign. And typically when we set these up, certainly from a training perspective and the workshops that we run here, what we would do is get the integration working, and then maybe do a plan. And often your marketing team would plan for the next year even, where we create, probably ahead of time anyway, you've created mailing lists. Now these would be lists that are in your system that are automatically kept up to date, if you want them that way, based on reports. So you can see I've got some reports over here on the left which are feeding mailing lists, and one or many reports can feed a mailing list, and then one or many mailing lists can be put together into a campaign which generates the members. So I've put a little divider line in here because these mailing lists and reports are in the system. You build those in so they're ready to use at any time that you want. And then if you think of a campaign or you're planning a campaign, then you can use those mailing lists which are there ready to go. Build to the members, and then you could create many mail shots. And of course, as I said, pass that into GatorMail. We'll have a bit more detailed look at that in a second. If I overlay that though with a typical mail shot, now my example here is a monthly newsletter. So I'm imagining that I'm planning this at the beginning of the year. So again, I've got that dividing line over on the left here where I've got some reports in my system. So I've got a report that's showing people with a newsletter preference. So they might have ticked a box or gone to a preference center, or you've spoken to them. So there's a marker on a record that says, yes, they're happy to get a newsletter. I've also got a report with all my contracted customers, if you like. So I've got a list of those. And I've also got my leads, which also show a preference in my newsletters. So those reports are building two of my mailing lists here, which I've called or by name. I've named them here news people and news leads because they're getting fed with these reports. Having got those anyway in my system, I've decided, well, okay, I'm going to set up my newsletter campaign for the whole of 2018. So I build a campaign and I put the header detail into there, when I start, when I finished, what's going on. And because I've added those mailing lists, it would update the members list. And then I can even pre-plan my mail shots for the year. And you can see I've got 3 mail shots just to start that off, the first quarter. And then as I choose to synchronize these with GatorMail, I can build the creative content and email, and off it goes. So this gives you a typical look at a type of campaign, and you would repeat this, I guess, at the beginning of the year, planning each campaign, which mailing list it's going to use. Now, the idea of this and where the power starts to come into this of using workbooks for the heavy lifting is that these mailing lists and reports are automatically updated. So I might send out a list to all the members in January, but that list might grow, that members list might grow by February. And of course, because they've added to the report, because they're in the mailing list, they synchronize in. So February, you're sending out the content to those people that have signed up for the newsletter, for example, or even dropped out. So it keeps it up to date. And there's a few different methods of doing that within Workbooks using standard Workbooks technology. So that was the Workbook side. And then when we get into GatorMail, as I said, if you like that sort of thing, and many marketing people, that's probably why they're there, because they like that kind of creative side of things. So it gives you a couple of different options to create different types of campaigns. There's a quick campaign area where it's quick and easy just to run through a small wizard, which is the one I'm going to primarily show you, or you can go into a lot more detail and get under the bonnet a little bit with the traditional campaign type within GatorMail. But you get lots of templates to choose from if you want to start at a point where some of the work's been done, or you can get some plain styled templates, or you can create your own templates. And we often, when doing our first setup of a GatorMail for our customers, we'll often go off and create a template that kind of matches the look and feel of the website, same colors and fonts and that type of thing, just to get you started, really, if you would like. And then the editor, if you haven't used GatorMail before, very similar to other email providers on the market, where it's a drag and drop content and you can change each of these blocks and things. We'll have a swift look at that shortly, and then it's send. Now the little bit at the bottom, I've tried to represent the little wizard that we would work through using that quick campaign method. We do a quick setup. Of course, when this comes across, a couple of these menu options are taken care of already. The setup, it already knows the name of the campaign. It already knows the audience members, because we've provided those within that mailing list within Workbooks. Okay, so gives you a bit of an idea of the two parts of that. And then, of course, once that is up and running and you've done the mailing, the type of reporting that you can do is extensive. The first little screenshot in the back is a typical GatorMail reporting screenshot, and then the other three are within Workbooks. So you can see here I've got some charts and graphs in a dashboard. I've got some online activity, so I know who's clicked and who hasn't, and I've even got a record here. You can see Sam Harris. He's opened several emails, click-throughs, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to show you that in a test system in a moment. Okay, so that's really the extent of my slides there. I will come back and show you some of the other things you need to think about. But let's go and have a look at a live example of this, if you like. I say live, but it's in a test system of mine. So if I just pop in here and go to Workbooks. So this little Workbooks system. So I think the best method for me to do this is to show you where this has already been done. So if I go to my marketing campaigns area, we can see here some typical kind of campaign lists. I know that I've got some data in this one, this internal staff communications. Now, there's a bit of a breakdown of those areas that I've just talked about here. So typical campaign information, the header detail, and of course, those that are familiar with Workbooks know that you can add fields and change this around a little bit, the look and feel, depending on the type of information you want to collect at the header level. But let's have a look along these tabs. You can see here, I've got, first of all, this mailing list tab. Now, what I've done is I've added 3 mailing lists to this campaign, which has actually created the 87 members that I'm targeting in this particular campaign. So if I go back to one of these, let's have a look at people near Reading. Now, this is a mailing list I've added, but if I click on this mailing list, I don't know whether you can see in the background, there's a mail shots tab and there's a reports tab. So the mail shots show you the mail shots that this list has been included in. But if I look at the report, this report is driving the resulting list of people that's in that mailing list. And then within a mailing list on the main tab, you can tell it to synchronize on a regular basis. So it's looking at the report automatically on a scheduled basis. This one's actually checking daily at 6 a.m. in the morning. So it goes off, looks at that report, and then updates into this mailing list any people that match the criteria within that report. That report then is subsequently added to the campaign, and therefore it updates the members in that campaign. And we've also set this campaign, if I go back to the main tab here, I've also set this campaign to go and look at the mailing list regularly, daily. Now you'd probably do something like after the 6 a.m. I'd probably make that something like 7 a.m. So if the reports are updating the mailing lists, then the campaign looks at the mailing list an hour later, updates, and it's ready for the day of all the people that match that criteria. So if I just save that, and then once that's all prepared, ready to go, I'd probably ahead of the game set up my mail shots. And you can see here for this internal staff communication, I've set up a few mail shots. There's a few kind of internal newsletters and so on here as well, ready to go. Now, these are the bits that talk to Workbooks. That talk to the GatorMail from Workbooks. So by generating these, we can choose new mail shot, and perhaps if I pick maybe an April news, I'm going to create a GatorMail mail shot here, and now when you're using the mail shot to GatorMail, it wants to know, well, okay, of which records within the campaign do you want to use? Do you want to use your campaign members? You can also filter those down if you need to. Or do you want to use one of the mailing lists that you've got attached to this campaign? But in this case, I might want just members. And here I get a breakdown of how those members are listed. So you can see that I've got the total 87, 71 of which have opted out in my example test system here, and 16, are unsubscribed. So none are eligible because I didn't want to send any details, but that's because I've marked those records accordingly. Now, if I choose next, it gives me a breakdown of those. You can actually see the people that have opted out here very clearly. You can even filter this for this particular mail shot. So you can choose your normal Workbooks filter option, and so I want all of the ones that haven't opted out and apply that. So these are all the live ones. If I choose next, that's producing the audience in GatorMail, and then I've started to build what the campaign will be in GatorMail. So webinar, news, and the mailing types. Now these are the really smart thing, or part of this integration, and is unique to the GatorMail integration from Workbooks, are these types of mailings. And there is a bit of an explanation if you want to have a look at this and look back on this. But these are probably the most common ones: the refresh non-recurring, the refresh recurring. Refresh non-recurring is really quite clever, and really allows you to have mail shots in the campaign that if somebody's added to the mailing list and therefore members, they start getting those mail shots, but it doesn't repeat it for the people that have already had them. So really nice tool. Refresh recurring, so it just keeps refreshing the mailing list and sending it out. And then static ones, and there's a couple of others in here. There's some workflow that you can build within GatorMail as well. So these are really powerful. So I'm going to just, in this case, select static, next. And once done, it produces a mail shot, which is then visible within the campaign. And you can set this to synchronize regularly with GatorMail, so it updates who's going to be in this particular mailing, and it also gives you the stats that are coming back from GatorMail in that case. So you can see here that the design and the building of the campaigns, the mailing list and the reports are really kind of the heavy lifting part of this, as I mentioned. And this is normal Workbooks functionality, but really makes the power come to life in terms of who you're targeting, when, how, and why. And then popping across to GatorMail, this is my test GatorMail system that I can show you, and a typical option that when you use the option to push that into GatorMail, you would be presented with a menu like this where you can go through either the quick campaign method or the traditional campaign method. If I show you a quick campaign, what it looks like. So you can see this little wizard at the top. Some of this is already filled in because it's been populated by Workbooks. So the setup, the campaign name, email addresses, and so on. The testing. Now, the testing you can do by sending yourself tests or test lists, A/B splits, that type of thing. If I go back a second to this add email, now I've already got it in here, but if I show you that editor, so if I go and edit the email that I've built, this is a typical editor. Obviously there's some tuition around this if you need it, but it's fairly intuitive, I would suggest. There's some overall styles that you can add, you know, colors and fonts and that kind of thing, but each of the blocks over here on the right are editable, or I can add new blocks. So if I wanted to add a button, I can just drag and drop and then break into that block just by clicking into it, and then I can update. I want to update the text on that button, for example. Click here, and I put the URL where I want somebody to navigate to, and then I've edited that particular block. If I want to scroll down here and edit a slightly different one, this text here, you can see I can click in and I have some powerful tools within GatorMail to make it a bit more interactive, push to preference centers and so on, so people can click and make some choices and all sorts of things here, but very easy to edit and change the content. So if I save and exit that. So as Tim said, I'm not going to actually send this, but you can check the audience, and this would already be taken care of because it's come across from Workbooks. So really there's a quick insight there in terms of what the tool looks like, in terms of GatorMail, what the integration looks like, and if you like a live look at something that looks like it's been done. And then if we go into this and have a look, once mailings are sent out, I talked about reporting. Now there is some reporting within GatorMail, a normal kind of approach, but of course because all of that data is coming back into Workbooks, you can then produce output in any way, shape or form that you wish. I mean, if I show you on a level here of the type of updates that are coming back into Workbooks, I've got this online activity here. There's a bit of a mix in here as well with the web analytics tool called Insights. So you might see some website visits in here, but you can see this is all of the emails opened, clicked, who did them and what. Behind each of these there's information. So this particular email here was open. If I just click on that item, you can see who's clicked on it. You can see what time, when they clicked, what the URL was. So if I went here, it would show you what they actually clicked on. So you can see each of these are reportable because they're fields within the system. And if we looked at the Samuel Harris record, if I open that person record, you can see at the person level, there's an online tab. So I can see instantly this record of what emails he opened, what sent, whether anything bounced, and so on. So of course you can report on this in the normal Workbooks reporting manner. And then at the campaign level and the mailing list level, if I go back into that marketing campaign, I went into, I'm just trying to remember which one it was, the internal staff communications. You can see the online tab reflects the interaction that happened with this particular campaign in total. But if I go to the mail shot, you'd see that at mail shot level on an online tab against the mail shot. So you can really drill down. I've got a typical dashboard over here, which is showing me some leads that have come in by campaign, source of leads per month, what they clicked on. There's all sorts of information, and one of the big things here is because you may have your sales cycle tracked within Workbooks, you can apply those sales invoices, opportunities back to particular campaigns, so you can get some ROI information back out the system. So I've spent this budget on a campaign, and this is the return that we got, profit of X, Y, or Z. Okay, so a swift visit, as mentioned by Tim, but hopefully that's given you a good insight into what's achievable there. Let me go back to my slides here. Just a bit of information about the kind of planning. If you've not done this before, if you're looking at this in terms of starting this up, you need to think about a few areas. The integration, by the way, is absolutely free. So if you're if you want it, then you can sign up for your GatorMail and we can get the integration sorted. That's just the link between the two systems. But obviously, if you haven't done this before, it's worth looking at some of the pricing and finding out roughly how many emails you're sending, so you can calculate what you'll be spending on the GatorMail product itself. We can help with templates creation, training for either Workbooks or the GatorMail site. We can help with, and also if you want to, we can look at some preference center designs where you can push people towards landing pages so they can check boxes to say, yes, I'm interested in getting this information, that information, or unsubscribing completely. Okay, so swift visit, are you still around, Tim? Are you there? Was there anything you wanted to add to that at all, Tim?
I would just say, to summarize the benefits, that GatorMail is a UK system. There are other alternatives to mailing from Workbooks. There's a very basic built-in tool. Got MailChimp, Constant Contact, Mailer. There are other options out there, but trying to think what is the difference of GatorMail? Why should you choose GatorMail above the others? Well, it is a UK system, so if you've got any concerns about where is your data, and these solutions being GDPR compliant as well, certainly Communicator, the authors of Gator, they're very much GDPR compliant, so rest assured. Another key benefit, tight integration with Workbooks. Everything, all the clients' responses to your emails are going back into the Workbooks database. Why is that? Why is that important? Well, for sharing, everyone can see the fruits of your efforts. As Pete showed, that online tab, everyone can see emails that were sent, emails that were opened, what did they click on, hard bounces, subscriber updates as well. So that sharing information is vitally important. And because the data is in Workbooks, we can then use that information on future campaigns. The data's there. So if we want to pull off a report of everyone that had visited that page or clicked on that link or opened that email, we can do that. And also reporting and dashboards, the holy grail of reporting, because in Workbooks, of course, we can be using it to track our sales that we've made or are hoping to make to a customer, then we've got a great way of closing the loop on that marketing report to show a real ROI type report. We know what marketing activities have gone out. We know people that have responded and people that have purchased something, and what campaign were they on, so that we can really see that ROI information, really important information. Of course, very important if you're putting a lot of effort into your marketing or email marketing campaigns. There is the way of tracking website visits. That is a sister product to GatorMail called Web Insights, which you might have heard of. Those people that are well into workbooks, you might have heard of the Web Insights add-on. So there's a complementary product, if you like, to Gator, again from the Communicator people. But that is for website visit tracking. Maybe we'll tackle that on another of our Workbooks Hangout sessions for a later date. And looking at the GatorMail product itself, it does have some functionality in it. When you're designing nice looking email templates, there may be some functionality in there that you may not find in other mailing systems. For example, you might have noticed when Pete showed you the text editor, there's a table tool. You can't do that in a lot of other systems. And competitive pricing as well. Now all the pricing, it's an annual subscription to Gator. All the pricing is up on the workbooks.com website, workbooks.com/pricing. You can see the subscription based on the number of annual sends you've got. Now, there is a monthly price quoted on the Workbooks website, but you're actually billed annually in advance. But as Pete said, realistically think, what training could you benefit from? We've done this many times before. We've got a lot of experience of setting up lots of email marketing systems and Gator as well. We can provide whatever level of training you want to. And another area that we've assisted on is the setup of the preference center as well, giving your customers the choice of what emails do they want to receive, what emails do they want to opt out from, all managed through Workbooks. But it just needs a little bit of setting up and us taking you through all of the options. I should have said in my introduction, on that meeting control panel, you might have seen a handout section, and we've got a copy of our slides over there, which you can download. Anyone listening to a recording of this or listening on YouTube, just email Wizard Systems, tim@wizard-systems.com. Be happy to send you a copy of our slides. So questions, keep them coming in. Let me just see what questions we've got so far, Pete. So question from Darren. There is some functionality there that Workbooks already has that I am unaware of, mailing lists, etc. Where can I learn about this? Well, Pete, maybe I can answer that.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's extensive help files in Workbooks. I'm pretty sure there's a YouTube video on that up on the Workbooks channel. Wizard Systems can of course provide training, but it is fairly intuitive. The little wizard that takes you through doing a mailing or creating a mailing list in Workbooks. Right, next question from Terry. What if I already have a Communicator account?
Okay, yeah, I mean, if you've got a Communicator account, let us know and we can get the integration set up. Obviously, of course, offer any training, because if you're using Gator already, you probably know it really well. And if you need any information about building those reports or where the information is to and froing, then let us know. But the integration part is free, so we can get that sorted. Yeah.
Question from Maddie: can you track website visits?
Yes, it's not really the GatorMail tool. There's some functionality, and maybe it's one we show at a later date called Web Insights. There's certainly a good deal of information, and it's really the web style analytics type information, so you can track who went to which website. The benefits is that if you make this happen from Workbooks combined with the GatorMail, so I can send out an email to get people to click. As soon as they've clicked, it cookie drops, and then can track the journey of that person around your website, and those come into those online areas, so you could see any record by where they've traveled. It's really good to score your pages as well, if that is the case, so that you could maybe weight your leads. You could find the score of a lead. You know, if they've come on your pricing page, they're probably more interested than if they're just looking maybe at your home page, which is a standard drop page, perhaps. Yes,
of course, with the standard GatorMail solution, if you've got a click through, you will get that as a website visits, if that's what you mean, Maddie. So you've got that. But yeah, as Pete says, for more extensive tracking of anonymous visitors to your website, we do have a lovely solution, Web Insights, that can be complementary to GatorMail here. Next question from Adam: Can I use Gator to create an inquiry form on my website?
Yes, yeah. I mean, there's some functionality already in Workbooks, of course, web to lead. And you can produce those and have them on your website. But you can also have, we use the area that you get with GatorMail, or the web tracking tool. So you can create web forms from GatorMail and produce those. And of course, that update can go back into Workbooks as well. So it can generate a new record, new lead, and do all the normal stuff. And of course, if that's part of a campaign as well, you know, you can get follow-up emails, and you can make some intelligent reaction to those because it's within Gator. Some of that extra functionality around the workflow tools that are available. Somebody fills in the form, you might take them to a preference center. They click on certain things on the preference center, which updates Workbooks. They're getting emails because of that, and so on. So it's a really good functionality, as well as, or on top of, or including the web to lead tool within Workbooks. You take a bit of a choice on which one you use.
Okay, a couple of questions from Helen. Can you provide an example of when you would choose follow-up workflow mail shot type?
Okay, well, that's interesting. I've just given one of those, I guess. One of them, maybe from the entry of a web form, you could take them to a particular campaign by default once they've filled in the web form, and make that a standard kind of campaign that sends intelligent reaction to the way that they behave on that particular email that they've got. So if they open it, you could automate a different reaction to if they don't open it or they click on it. So that's probably where you'd use that workflow. And there's a bit of a payoff one way or the other. You could build that intelligence into reporting in Workbooks and then add them in the same way to those mailing lists that I suggest. But often it's a good way of having a standard cycle of information that you always do. So if you use the case module within Workbooks, for instance, you may want to react when somebody doesn't open, for example, the solution that you send, and it might send them a reminder, or you sent somebody a solution and you want to ask them how they got on, every fifth person or something of that nature. So lots of different reasons for those, but yes, there is a bit of a grey area of whether you'd use Workbooks to do that under reporting or use the workflow tool. I guess whichever you're more comfortable with.
Okay, next question from Helen. I was told there is a bug, so figures displayed for eligible contacts are not correct. Has this been fixed?
Yes, as far as I know that the eligible contacts is based on, could be duplicates, it could be non-valid email addresses. It could be people that have opted out. I know in the early days there was something, but if you've raised a ticket about that in the past, then Helen, was it? I would just make sure that you've got the correct details now. But I mean, it's been going some time now, so they've ironed out a lot of the issues in its infancy. But yeah, I mean, they're perfectly good as far as I'm aware.
Okay, well, we'll check on that, Helen, after this call anyway. Next question from George. If we store client information, organization details on workbooks, how secure would those details be? Well, shall I answer a bit of that, Pete?
Yeah, go for it.
So, well, yeah, I mean, GDPR is partly all about security. Workbooks, the company, is GDPR compliant. Workbooks, the system you use, is GDPR compliant as well. The system is very, very secure. There is some documentation we can send you on the kind of IT infrastructure that's behind workbooks, and it's, to be honest with you, it's got a level of security and reliability that most small, medium-sized businesses could not afford on their own. I mean, it's very, very secure. But we do have some, like a sort of white paper. There's like an FAQ document we can email you, George. It is somewhere up on the workbooks.com website. Not sure exactly where it is, because they all got their ISO accreditations. Does workbooks. So yeah, very, very secure. So only you can see your data. Nobody else can.
Yeah, and it's all held in biometric secured data centers and all sorts, I've seen.
Yeah, there's a couple of data centers, and all the data's in the UK as well. It's not underneath some mountain in California. It's all in the UK. But as I say, very, very secure.
GatorMail also is a similar kind of setup. So
yeah, was UK system, all the data in the UK. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you should have no concerns there, George. But we'll dig out some information for you after this call. Right, I don't think there's any more questions. So I'd just like to thank everyone that's attending live. If you're listening to recording this, please put comments up on YouTube or email us. Our contact details, so it's Peter at wizard-systems.com. I am Tim Wilmot, Tim at wizard-systems.com. As I say, we're going to try and run these on a more regular basis, what we're calling a Workbooks Hangout. So if you've got any burning topics that you would like to suggest to us for consideration for presenting on a short call like this, that would be that we feel would be of good interest to the Workbooks community as a whole, please email me, Tim Wilmot, for consideration about what that topic might be. But watch out for the email with the recording, and if you've got any requirements around Workbooks, training, help, support, add-ons, please contact us at Wizard Systems. But thanks very much for your time, and goodbye.